Hi, so we're going to do another channeling today, and our topic is the Reptilians. So we have some questions that we developed, and we're going to go through those. All right, so let me just bring in the Pleiadians. I'm just going to bring those in today. Yes, we are ready to proceed. Thank you for being here.
So to start off, on the show Cosmic Disclosure, we were told that there are only about 100 reptilians on or around the Earth, and we were wondering how accurate that information is, and if by that 100 they are only referring to like pure reptilians as opposed to hybrids and entities and such.
Yes, we have information about that. There are about 100 reptilians if you are to include the reptilian DNA. Uh, that means that there are reptilians on your planet who are actual reptilians, who are the alien race reptilians. When we reference the reptilians, we are actually referencing more of the actual reptilians. But the planet that you live on, when they speak of reptilians, they're actually speaking of reptilian influence. And that means that those who have reptilians within them, meaning that they have entities within them, they have the intelligence of the reptilians. So, what that is that there are reptilians off planet who are actually controlling that individual. So these people, mostly who are in the upper class, who are in influence, would have the reptilian intelligence within them, influencing them, sort of like a person who is being controlled. They have a influence. They are an intelligence that have mastered the planet. So these reptilians off planet, who are actual reptilians, who have a body of a reptilian, is in control of these people from the process of intelligence. We have difficulty explaining this process, but there are entities who have influenced people. They are doing it from a distance. It is sort of like a portal in a way, in which they have been attached to these people and can influence them. Now, it is difficult to explain because these people, if you open them up, would not have a reptilian inside. It is like their aura is controlled. It is not a physical influence, but more of a immaterial influence. So these people are controlled through their emotions, they're controlled through their thought process, and it does have a bodily function to it, but it is more that they are influencing their DNA. So their DNA becomes more reptilian in nature. And this does occur within certain bloodlines and does occur within certain families, in which the spread of the reptilians and their agenda proceeds through that. And it is very complicated, but it is what you would call a certain mastery to protect yourself from these reptilians, because they do try to attach to people, and there are many, many people on the planet who have reptilian influence within them. More so within those who are in power, because the reptilians want to maintain power over this structure of the universe. Now, once upon a time they did exist on your planet. They did exist in the forms that you would think of as a reptilian. And there are some still on the planet to maintain that influence and that mastery over your Earth. But most of them are off planet, and once they recover from this, once they see that this is not how it should be done, they will back off. But as of now, they're actually trying to master the planet. They are trying to maintain a certain structure here. For their whole goal is to actually influence the planet enough so that they can come back. They want to come back and then take over. But it isn't that simple because they understand that the whole mastery will be inevitably um, it's all for show because they know that it isn't going to work. They actually know it's not working, but they're not backing down. So, what of that do you have questions of?
So I had several, so I'm trying to figure out which to start. So with the reptilian entities, because it's easy for like anyone to have that, how is that separate from someone that we would actually consider as being a reptilian because they're being controlled by it? It's like to get to that point, do you have to have multiple entities within you so that they have a stronger influence, or is it something about the more of our surrender to it so then they're able to more mess with our DNA so that we more go along with the influence?
Yes, yes. It depends. So more accurately, those that you would call a reptilian on your planet are those who are so influenced that they do not actually have a consciousness. It is more of a field of energy in which the reptilian has taken them over, and their DNA is so underdeveloped, so unawakened, that they are basically a puppet to those of the reptilian race. And that would be what you would reference as the reptilians. Those who have a reptilian within them does not necessarily mean that their consciousness has been dimmed, and so their influence may be actually inaccurate in nature, in which they cannot actually take it over, and whatever they are attempting is, in a way, prevented. So the majority of the people have reptilians within them, actually. But most of the people have a will of their own, and so they are not taken over. Those who you would call in power have been taken over so much that they don't even understand what they're doing. It is that bad because they have the majority of their soul is actually not even within their body. They have been taken over by the reptilian themselves. It is like sort of like a possession in a way, if you would think about it. Although these possessed individuals they're not aware that that is what it's occurring sometimes. Although some of these people do understand what is going on. They actually want it. There are blood rituals and such in which you will call in a reptilian. It is sort of like a ceremony of rejuvenation, they will call it, although it's really not. But they see it that way. It is sort of like a process in which it is seen as a ability that you gain, a sort of like power that you gain. So there are influences like that on your planet.
So with the DNA, would you say that the our DNA is what is protecting us from that influence? And then within these families, since their DNA is getting so like stripped down, is this kind of genetic where the children are born with their DNA already messed with, and that's why it's so easy for them to be influenced, or does this occur over time?
Yes, yes. So with the DNA as a protection, it can be a protection, but most of the time, actually, it is preventing the DNA from awakening. For the planet is in a sort of renewal process in which it is recovering from a certain stagnation. And so you are awakening to a different level. And when someone is taken over by a reptilian, that process is stagnant. That process is not occurring. So then the DNA is not able to develop into the flourishing that it is possible. And this is occurring on a multi-level, multi-dimensional level. So if you were to open up a person, you would not necessarily see it. Although these DNA strands are in the fourth dimension. And these people, often the ones in power, the elite that you would call them, are aware of this whole thing and they actually are controlling this. They actually want the DNA strands to remain unknown. Now, it gets very complicated because they see this whole reptilian agenda as power, as maintaining a certain power. But the thing of it is that they don't have power themselves. They're actually stealing the power. It's weird in a way, you would think, in which they are taking the power from others. They are taking energy from others and do not receive it themselves. So this DNA is, in a way, not theirs. They are taking DNA. This whole DNA as a protection, yes, a person may have awakened their strands of DNA, and in a way that is a protection. It can be seen, though, as a target, because once your DNA does awaken, then the reptilians will see it as sort of a food, an energy source that they can latch onto. And then they will not exactly they slow it down. They slow down the process of it awakening more, but they definitely don't then influence it so much that it's darkened. But they will latch on it and like suck it out, and so then the individual doesn't receive the light that they deserve. If that makes sense. How much of that makes sense?
So that makes sense. But I'm still unclear. Is the DNA like being awakened? Is that what is protecting us from their influence if they are inside? So like they're taking out the energy, but is that what's holding back their influence?
It isn't that. It's we want you to understand that there is multiple perspectives on this. So those who are in power and those of the elite will actually call in a reptilian within them. And they have such influence that they want that. So they are not trying to protect themselves at all. And it does happen in families. You did ask that. It does happen in families, and there is a genetic certain code in which they are more adept to receiving a reptilian. It's a contract. The family has contracts, and they are taught to maintain that contract with this race. And those who have maintained that want to maintain that. They actually have an agenda with that. Now, they see it as like personal power that they gain. Mm-hmm. Now, the people and the masses are not understanding that. They are just mostly the food. They are the ones that the reptilians will feed off of. Mm-hmm. And it's not that simple because often the reptilian will kind of come in and out. They don't. Yeah, so there are people who have a reptilian, but they latch on and then they'll leave and then they'll come back. And it's sort of like an in and out. Now, there are others where they will latch on to a certain area in the body and will take on that and feed off the energy in a certain area, like a certain chakra. And it can have a physical influence in which you have a like a disorder, an illness from it, because that organ cannot function properly. So it can cause illnesses. But that isn't the main agenda. The main agenda is for the reptilian just to understand itself. It will feed information, because that's what light is. It's information. It is consciousness. It's stealing consciousness and awareness. And so the DNA can protect itself, if that's what you mean. You can use your energy, your consciousness as you awaken to protect yourself. But most people don't know how to do that, and they will just awaken, and then they become sort of like this beacon of light in which the reptilians are like, oh, look, because it's almost like the person says, hey, look at me, here I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so the reptilian sees it and takes it and steals it. So it is important to shield, because it doesn't really have to do with the DNA itself. It has to do with a consciousness, and the consciousness has the ability to choose, and to choose it's sort of like a prayer. If you do a prayer around you, you can protect yourself. And how do you protect yourself? It isn't that complicated. It just means it would actually serve you to call in more light than you actually have. And what that means is to then call into the body more energy to surround yourself, to protect yourself. So that means calling on an angel, calling on your higher self to protect yourself, like a bubble around you, or a pyramid, or a light structure, or just maybe some symbols, and to say, please protect me. Or just to understand that you are calling in an energy of protection so that you have a shield around you. So it would be better to actually call in more energy instead of using your energy to sort of deplete yourself by putting it around you. It's going to be more powerful if you actually understand that more energy, calling it in, is going to protect you more.
Okay. So what about when we already have one attached to us? How are some ways that we can detect that and transmute that energy or repel them away?
Yes, that's a very, very good question. How do you know that you have one in you? Well, there are certain ways to detect them. First off, if you're feeling just down, that might mean that you have a reptilian influence and you have detected that within yourself. It may mean that. Uh, Certain areas of the body, if you have a certain understanding of the body and you can scan the body, you might become aware of an off area. Also calling in your higher self to help with this process. An angel may be capable as well. We would recommend Archangel. So Metatron would be good. Michael would be good. Raphael would be good. Those would be good angels to call in to help with the process. And of course, yourself can do this too. So just be aware of the body, understand the body. It is very good to check in with the body to know what the body feels like when it is good, to know what it feels like when it is in a pure state. And when you feel an impurity, that means that there is something off about it. And so it's good to just protect yourself even more, and to also just call in the light, and to ask for the light to be given. It is good to ask from your higher self or any higher source to come in and to heal you. So to call that in and to separate yourself from the illness. This we are speaking of as entities, but it can be any illness, any disorder which you have. You need to separate yourself from the illness and to receive the love light instead, and to integrate that into your body and to understand that instead of the illness or whatever you are feeling. So it is possible to help these entities, and we are referencing reptilians today. It is possible to help these beings. You can attempt to communicate with them or just ask for the higher self or the angels to come in and to serve these individuals, these entities, these beings, to help them ascend to the light. Now, not all of them will, and you can kind of sense if they say yes or no, depending on the certain type of information you receive. So it is important to channel. It is good to channel and to learn to understand energy. But you can feel it. You can feel it. You can use a pendulum. Pendulums might work, using one way for yes, one way for no, one way for maybe, and to understand how to use those. You could use tarot cards. That would work as well. Just be in tune with your body and know, because sometimes, definitely, if they say no, they will try to attack. You can feel them getting, like, you might feel pain in your body or off feeling even more, because then they get angry. If it seems to soften, you could understand that they are saying yes, they are agreeing, and you want to hold that light. Do this in meditation. Hold that light in that space for the healing. Energy is very, very powerful. You can use a fire for energy, imagining the fire energy to help transmute. But just trust and understand. So you can help them. I think that I've answered your questions. Was there anything that I did not answer?
No, I think that you answered them all. Um, Going off with the reptilians, though, what sort of relationship do they have with archons? Because archons can also latch onto us.
Yes. Archons are very powerful. They have more influence over you than the reptilians. The archons are a certain technology, and their consciousness is very, very low to the state that it seems not even developed, mostly undeveloped at all. So they don't really have an agenda. It is just really to steal energy. They feed. They feed. And it is basically a program that someone else programmed into them to simply come and destroy. It is basically a destruction mechanism. So if you see your answer as creation, which would be your agenda here, everyone's agenda as the love light is to create. Theirs is to destroy and to take information and steal it. Do they eat it? Do they feed it off of it? They do, but they don't even understand it. So they don't even use it. Now the reptilians steal energy, but they understand it. They feed off of it and it becomes a living source. Now the archon, it doesn't evolve. So it is a mechanism that stays stagnant and just it is here just to take. So it is a plague upon your planet that has come here, and it is stealing. Now, they will often take the energy from the reptilians because the reptilians see it as a method of use in which they have govern this planet so long that they, in a way, the Archons want the Reptilians. They want to use the Reptilians. The Reptilians gained control of the planet, and they want to take control. So the Archons want to control the planet, and the Reptilians have control of the planet, so they want to latch onto the Reptilians. There's sort of a method that they go about, and there is a sort of agreement that they have together in which they take over the Reptilian. So the Archon will take over the Reptilian to then gain even more power. Some may think that the Reptilians then made an agreement with the Archons, but it's more like the Archons took over the Reptilian to then take over the planet.
So to what extent is that? Like, are the Archons controlling all of the Reptilians? So
No, well, yes, but
not directly.
we see more Reptilians on the planet than Archons, but the Archons are stronger. The Archons have I do not see as many Archons on the planet as there used to be. This is a very good thing. There are multiple agendas on this planet, but more of the Archons are being destroyed. This is good. We see more Archons in the Reptilians than the actual planet itself. We do see this.
So when you say that, you mean the Reptilians not on Earth? You mean there's more Archons there?
No,
or?
we meant the people with the reptilian consciousness.
Okay.
We do see more Archons within those than the actual people. This is we like this. We see this as a good. We are pleased. We're pleased with this. As we inform you of this, we see this. It has improved.
So is there any difference in how we should protect ourselves from Archons and how to transmute that energy?
Yes, yes. One way to do this is to actually call upon a healer. Those who are informed of the Archons. It is very difficult to transmute this energy. If you are to do it on your own, it is possible. However, it may take days, months, years. We are being honest. The archangels can come in. They can help. This is powerful. You would need to do this multiple times usually. A healer who is informed of the archons may be able to do this, and it may be destroyed. It may be destroyed instantly. But those who do not understand the archons will not be able to heal it. So if someone were to go to a simple Reiki master who does not understand archons, it would not be destroyed. And we do say destroyed because this consciousness is so dense, it does not hold a light. So it is not possible to heal these. They would then be taken to the love light to be recycled. We do see that it is in the plan for you all to understand archons and to be able to destroy them yourself. We do see this as possible and something that will become in your general knowledge. But first off, you are in your current state, and this current state, it is very difficult to do it on your own, for it takes a very intense power to destroy these. So the masses here would not be able to do it on their own. It would take a very, very big energy source. You can call on the love light. You can always call on the love light. And it is possible to do anything. But the love light necessary to destroy this, it would take months, years possibly. But it is possible. It is in your definition as possible.
So what are some steps that we could take to begin to know the archons?
Know whether you have one? Is this your
Well,
question?
you said that it is important to know of the archons and that we should
Just to know that they exist.
Okay.
But to detect them, this is a good question, even though this was not directly your question. How can you detect an archon? How do you know? Well, if you have visual perception, it would look like a spider, usually, a spider-like technology, a metal spider. Sometimes they can get into your brainstem, in your back. They love to go there. But these could be different sort of technologies around your body. Different energies here. In the fourth dimensions, you will not be able to see them. And to detect them, it's possible to understand it as in light cannot be received. So it would be an energy where you would see very dark density in which your light would be able to move around it, but wouldn't be able to actually see into that area. I'm not sure if some people would be able to understand this, but if you can detect a certain area where it's not moving, that would be one way to understand it. Most people are able to detect it through visuals.
So I know that apparently no one really knows where the archons came from, but that they supposedly came from like a different universe. So I found it really interesting that it's described that way because so like our universe, everything is light.
Not everything is light.
Well, I'm just wondering if like the source is light, if like it was coming from a source of
all sources light.
Darkness instead.
All sources light. There is a neutral source within the source, and there is love light is love light. There is nothing else. The information that is not love light is the density, is the darkness. If you think of it, there is no darkness at all. There's only a misidentification and a misinformation of what it is. That is why this is so powerful. These archons were created as a mastery of misidentification, of not understanding. So holding the information that is so dense that it cannot create. So love light is creation. Love light is understanding. Love light of the knowledge. These archons are so dense that they don't understand. They do not hold a consciousness within them. It is so powerful to understand this. They have been created outside your universe. They are from a certain universe that most likely is from a dark, dense universe in which the planet where it originated is so dense, so dark, that it doesn't have a love light within it. But that doesn't mean that there is no love light. It is all a game, and it is a game of sorts, a plane that you don't understand who you are. Just understand that. There is no being that cannot have love light. Your source in your universe is a certain consciousness, but understand that this consciousness is in fact more. So your universe is connected to everything. There is a oneness within everything. So this universe has a certain oneness, but there is a oneness to everything. So in a sense, you are connected to the Archon. You are the Archon. The Archon is you, pretending to not be you. So understand this. So this has been created, we think, outside the universe. We're not quite sure. We want to be completely honest. We're not completely we want to be clear that we hold the love of knowledge, but we do not understand everything. Now, this seems to be something that is not part of this universe because the consciousness of us would not have created that, if that makes sense. This consciousness of this universe did not create that. But it doesn't mean that the creator as the whole must have created that, if that makes sense. Just not the creator of this universe. This creator is part of a master creator of everything. So someone or something created that. We think of probably a race of creatures who wanted to see themselves as what they are not, to master destruction. As in, everything is a game. You are taking things out of context usually. We are here to try everything, even the darkness. At some point, you will become darkness. There will never be a time where you will not become something. So, in a way, we see this and we honor this as ourselves. We're just not going to allow it. Because we are love light at this time. So we do not see that as purposeful. We do not see it that way. What if that made sense? Hopefully.
Specific question jumped out, so I think I understood it. So now it feels a little weird, but to jump back to the reptilians, we know that there are positive reptilians. So, like, how much influence do they have on our planet and on the negative reptilians?
One of my friends is a reptilian. So we have a federation. We are friends with the reptilians. We have many races of reptilians. There are multiple races of reptilians, and some are more love light than others. There are multiple races, and it depends on the race. But within each race, there are good and bad. So when you ask this question, who has influence over your planets? The ones that are of the good would be the ones who would be influencing the planet would be of the Federation, part of the agenda to help Earth. Would there be anything else that you would want to know?
But we have the reptilians that are influencing our government and stuff. So how does the positive influence
Well, they are doing
influence
what we are doing. Does that make sense? We are seeding the earth.
Mm-hmm.
We are planting the earth with seeds. This means that we may send people down in reference to star seeds, in reference
Mm-hmm.
to people being born with consciousness beyond this planet. We are also incorporating love, light, and knowledge upon this planet. We are bringing the knowledge down into certain individuals. We are doing things like writing books and making movies and playing all sorts of games to help you.
Mm-hmm.
What if that makes sense? The reptilians are part of this. The reptilians are part of this group that is helping. And the Federation is a certain group that protects Earth. We want to protect this planet and to help. It's all part of a movement.
So, which of the specific reptilian races are actually in the Federation? Are the ones that are influencing us, are they all from a specific planet or?
The Draconians are the most influential. There are good and bad Draconians. There are many reptoids. There are dragon races. People speak of reptilians as this massive. We do not see it as such. We do not see them as there are multiple races.
Mm-hmm.
But which ones are you interested in?
I guess just how we can separate between which ones, like maybe we would call on to channel, like you, and then how to know, like who, instead of just calling them reptilians as a whole, is there a specific term that we can use for the negative influence?
Yes. Call the ones from the Federation. You can never go wrong with those. As for the Federation of Light.
Okay, so not specific, just be like, I'm calling on the Federation of Light.
Well, if you're looking for a reptilian, ask for a reptilian. You can also ask, this is a very good idea, actually. Ask for a mediator. Someone you trust. Ask them to mediate and to connect you with a reptilian that is of the love light. And use your heart discernment. Always use your heart discernment. If something seems off or feels off, then disconnect. Protect yourself, protect yourself, protect yourself. Please protect yourself before you do this. Does that make sense?
Yes. So then, like I said, is there a way that we can, I mean, I guess we could just say negative reptilians, but is there a way to like, refer to them without having to refer to everybody?
What do you mean?
Well, because like you're saying that it's a large like conglomerate of different races and such, which are reptilians. I guess you said draconians, so should we call them draconians instead of reptilians when we're talking about Earth influence?
I'm not quite sure your question. Are you talking about connecting with a certain
No, just so that it doesn't sound like racist when we say it.
No, I don't think anybody of the Federation would take it that way. Okay. Why don't you ask them? Make connection and ask. It would be very powerful for you to actually channel in a certain reptilian just to get the influence of how they talk, how they speak, how they act. It would be very interesting for you, I believe, but be very, very careful. Just ask for a mediator. There are multiple mediators. Archangel Michael would be a very good mediator. Mother Mary, Yeshua, any higher, powerful being that you trust can be a mediator. And then they would connect you with that individual to speak with.
So then, can you tell us about the war with the Reptilians?
Yes, there is a war. It's been going on for a while. The war is going on, and it's multiple races, not just the Reptilians, but when people speak of these wars, they do talk mostly of the Reptilians. It is interstellar. There are multiple races within that. We have been at war for a very long time. It is now in our process of actually healing from this war. We are actually winning the war. It's taken some time and many casualties, but there is a war, and it does have to do mostly with Earth, over Earth, because the Earth is very important. The Earth needs to proceed. It needs to proceed in evolution and ascend. But many are trying to prevent that, and many are trying to slow that process down to maintain the government structure within your planet. It is possible to understand this as an evolution in which the Draconians are mostly who we speak of, who want to prevent the Earth from proceeding. They want to maintain control. They have a certain love light within them, but they want to prevent it within themselves. It sounds very weird, but they understand themselves as a certain god. They want to maintain a godlike source within them rather than taking on the love light, for then they think that they cannot serve themselves. They like to prevent the service of others. They want to battle. They are very, very battle oriented. It's a very interesting concept. But mostly we do fight the battling races, the ones who battle, and they will start wars. They like it. It's fun for them. It's been a long, long time since we haven't had war. Today is a good day, though.
That's good.
Heather wanted to know about the Aleha here that she is channeling. She is interested to know about the Federation and their connection. We do want to say that we are part of the Federation. We are off planet. She has never understood that. We are off planet in a ship. And we hold 5 different beings within our structure here, this group, consciousness. We do hold at times one individual speaking, which she has caught on. So just to be clear, when it felt like she was holding more light, it was all of us, yes. So we do want to identify as such. Now, would there be anything else you would like to know?
Well, from what you said before, I don't know if this actually does affect us, but one of the questions that Heather had was about us having reptilian genes and if those genes themselves influence us.
Hmm. There are reptilian genes within most of the people. It does not affect you that much. It does keep you from holding enough light that you have difficulty understanding certain concepts. As in, we hold more understanding of certain concepts, but not to an extent that you cannot hold the light.
So from that, does that mean that positive reptilians have a more difficult time holding the light because of their genes?
To a certain extent, they have difficulty understanding concepts like healing and such. When you go to the next level, when you do ascend, your body will be discarded in a way because it is all illusion. You will hold your new body, which actually isn't really a new body, it is really your real body, and then you won't be an issue. Not to this extent. It's for your own good not to even just worry about it. It's possible to hold a love light. Just make sense of what you know.
Unless Heather has something to add, I think that was all of our questions then.
Yes. Very good. Great. So we will disconnect.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, that was nice to know a little bit more about them, to know that they are part of the Federation. I was thinking they were on the planet. Actually, like I always envision them there on
Well,
in the Pleiadians.
when I asked the question, it seemed kind of like a stupid question, but you came up with it, and then I felt like because of the way
Which one?
about positive and the influence of the positive reptilians, and then just because the way the conversation was going, that's why then I felt like it was important to separate them, and then it was like, no, why are you even asking?
I still think it was a good question. I think it was a dumb. Yeah, I mean that was I like the answer to that question. I mean, I like that answer about how they're part of the Federation and the mediator. That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're in doubt and you want to be connected with a positive being, you know, call in a positive being to then connect you with the positive being.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. All right. Well, thank you for watching, and we'll do this again. Let us know if you have any questions or you have any suggestions for any topics. Any last
Or
thoughts?
anyone specific you want us to channel as well.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Any, specific, group, or I mean, I'm willing to really channel any positive source. I will channel them. All right. We'll see you soon.